Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, second Canto, second chapter, text number 17. 17 was text number 18. Sri Sukdev Goswami, he is continuing to explain the meditation. And as we read before in the previous chapter, he has talked about meditation on the cosmic form of the Lord. And now he was talking about the form of the Lord in the heart, and he gave the process how a yogi has to leave the body when the time comes for him. And he specifically said that a yogi should not be bothered about a specific place or time where he has to give up the body. These are not important for him, because once he attains the state of Brahman, transcending the Prakriti, the material nature, then all these things have no influence on him. So in the previous verse, it was described how that state is beyond Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, or ego, Mahatattva, Prakriti, and so on. So now in this particular verse, he says that Param padam vaishnamananti tadyanneti neti tadutsa shikshava visrijya daratmyam mananya sahrida hridap guhyarha padam pade pade. Says that these devotees, they attain the supreme position which is called Vaishnava, or the abode of Lord Vishnu. Param padam Vaishnavam amananti tadyanneti neti iti etat usri shikshava. And they do not take any interest in anything material. Atad. Tat means the supreme, like in the famous statement of Upanishad, Tatvamasi. Tat literally means that, but it also signifies the Supreme Lord. And why it signifies the Supreme Lord? Because Tat is a pronoun, and pronoun can be used for anything, because pronoun is that which comes in place of a noun, and it can come in place of any noun. So pronoun is that which pervades everything. Therefore, the Lord, or the Supreme Reality, is called Tat, because he has entered into everything. And that which is not the absolute reality, that is called Atat. So this verse says that neti iti etad iti atad utsasriksha. Atat, or that which is not tat, when they desire to give that up, then they have this mood of neti. This is another statement from the Upanishad, neti, not this, not this. And because Bhagavatam is called Nigam Kalpatarur, Dalitam Phalam, the mature fruit of the Vedas, and it is considered as the explanation of Vedanta Sutra. So in many verses, there are words from the Upanishads. You can trace the Upanishadic statements in the verses of Bhagavatam. So this is one such verse. But to achieve that place, he says Visvijya Dauratmyam Ananya Shohrida, that they have to give up Dauratmya, or the envious nature. Because if one wants to attain the Supreme Lord, then this is the prerequisite condition. Although Lord is available everywhere for everyone, and He is sitting in everybody's heart, yet He is very far away. As in the Upanishad it is said that tad dure tadvantike, that He is very close and He is very far, that even if you travel at the speed of mind, you cannot reach Him. Because to reach Him, you need a different vehicle. And that vehicle is the vehicle of devotion. Without devotion, it is not possible. Bhaktya mama vijanati yavani. tattvata. And bhakti comes by humility. So Garuda is the carrier of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu rides on Garuda. And Garuda is the son of Vinata. His mother's name is Vinata. He was wife of Kashyapa. And Vinata means humility. Means one who is very humble. So that gives rise to devotion. Garuda signifies devotion because it is only devotion by which Lord becomes pleased. It is only devotion which attracts him. And without that, it is not possible to attract his attention. So, many times people they say that God is very cruel. I'm writing an article on this, how God is cruel. Because you see all around there is only problems, misery, difficulties, suffering, pain, crime, exploitation, distress, unhappiness, terrorism, no peace, no satisfaction. Unless one becomes an animal, but then human beings disturb them also. So why God is not doing anything? If He is powerful, if He is omnipotent, kya bhaiya? So why He is not giving His grace to the fallen, suffering living beings in this world? And He has made this body so fragile that if you trip from the rickshaw, then you break your hand. Could have designed it a little better. So He made a very fragile design. That in this body, although we are so proud of it, and we spend so much time standing in front of the mirror, looking at the face and seeing how wonderful we are, right? But actually it can give so much problem. Every single cell of this body can create havoc. Any part of the body, whether it is eye or nose or one small tooth in the mouth or little boil somewhere and sometimes just a headache, nothing, no one can see anything. There's some kind of vibration in the head. So, but there are bigger problems, and the problem is the envy, Duratmya. So Duratma means dirty heart. Atma means soul or heart, and Dura means unclean, impure. And Duratma means that impurity of the heart. So he says that Visrijya Duratmyam Ananya Shohrida. That unless one gives that up, there is no question of Parampadam, Vaishnava. And when one gives up that, then one becomes Ananya Shohrida. His only friend is Krishna. Suhridam. Krishna says that he is the Suhrida. Hrida means heart. And Su means that he is there, sitting inside, like a nice friend. Samano vriksho parisasva jato, like two birds on a tree. So he is a companion. But we don't see him because of our Duratmya. Our impurity, it curtails the vision and we cannot see. Or you can say that you cannot see because he is too close. When things are very close, we don't see them. We don't see our own faults because we are very close. We can see in others. So we don't see things which are too far away or they are too close. or there is some obstruction in between. So Lord is also obstructed by the impurity of the heart, although He is inside it. So He says that they give up this idea, Utsrikshava, or they desire to give it up. And Hridao Guhya Arha Padam Pade Pade. Then within their heart they embrace the Lord at every step. So such a person becomes qualified to attain the Vaikuntha, the abode of the Lord. Param Padam Vaishnavam Aham. This is what was described in the verse, and I will read the commentary of Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So he says that Sattvadayah katham na santi ityatah param padam. That why sattva etc. do not exist there. So he says that it is param. First of all, it is param means beyond, transcendental. Pradhanat param ate Vaishnavam padam Vishnu nirvishesham swarupam tat prasiddham eva tadapi bhagavad bhakta naradadaya eva yatha jananti na tatha jnanino api ityādi. So this is the position or the abode of Lord Vishnu called Vaishnava Pada, and this is Nirvishesha Swarup of Lord Vishnu. This is the pure manifestation of Lord only. It is manifestation of His own abode or of His own energy. It does not have any material qualifications in it. Like these qualifications in this material world, they are manifest from the modes. So therefore the qualities, they are also called guna, and the modes are also called guna. But nirvishesha means that this variety which you see here manifest out of material nature does not exist in that place. And this is understood only by the devotees. Because if one is not a devotee, then one cannot understand it. There are many intelligent, illustrious, genius people in this world, and they have very wonderful realizations. But none of them can know anything about the abode of the Lord. They cannot say anything. They can analyze the material nature, material world, human nature, human mind, and have very wonderful understanding about it. But nothing can they know about the abode of Lord, because that is known only by Bhagavad Bhakti, by the devotees of Lord Vishnu, such as Narada. That's why it is said that Narada, he can travel. The materialistic people, they can travel only in this particular universe. But Narada can travel anywhere because he is not bound by the modes of nature. So therefore they are able to know, and thus it is said in this verse that Vaishnavam amananti. The Jnanis, they also cannot know. It says Natatha Jnanino api. The Jnanis, the impersonalists. Jnani means those who are interested in knowing Brahman. They also cannot know. Yad Brahma neti neti iti evam atat tad vyatiriktam vastu utsrikshava asamyageva amananti jananti. So they who desire to give up anything which is not related to Krishna, of course everything is related to Krishna, but Srimad Chakravarti Thakur gives a nice meaning. He says that if one wants to know Brahman, then one has to give up everything, attachment to everything. Because if you are attached to the Lord, then you cannot have Brahman realization. You may understand Brahman, but that will not be your stable realization. Because if you want to have Brahman as your object, the ultimate goal of realization, then you have to give up all attachment. Material or spiritual, you have to give up attachment even to the Lord. So devotees, they are not interested in anything like that. But if one wants to know Brahma, then he has to say Neti Neti. That is the process. Asamyagev amananti jananti kim kritva dauratmyam keval jnaninam eva nirbudhitvam visrujya. So dauratmya, he gives a meaning of dauratmya, that this is stupidity. And the stupidity is in the form of just trying to know the Jnanis, like the Jnanis trying to know the Brahman. He says that they are not intelligent. He is calling them as nirbuddhi. Means they have no buddhi. Because they work so hard, perform so much austerity and renounce. But what is the outcome? Now Kumbh Mela is going on and millions of sadhus are there. There are 100,000 sadhus coming from the west. So many sadhus now all over the world. Not the Indian sadhus, but they are Western sadhus. 100,000. And all types of austerities they are doing. Some people are standing on one leg. One sadhu is keeping his one hand up for last 10 years. Now it doesn't come down. So, all kinds of austerities. Somebody is lying down on the thorns. But what do they gain from this? So somebody asked that, why are you standing on one leg? So he became very angry. He says, why? What do you mean I'm standing on one leg? I'm standing so that there is peace in the universe. He says, I'm like a tree who does not eat its own fruits. I'm doing tapasya for the benefit of others. So by standing on one leg, the peace will come. Of course, in some sense there is some peace, because if he's just standing on one leg, he's not causing disturbance. So he's at least contributing that much. And if there are many like him, then there will be some peace, because this peace is not that it has to be brought from somewhere else. It's already there. It is that we disturb it. Human beings are the one who create disturbance. So if they stop creating disturbance, then the peace is there. So in that sense, he is right. He is contributing to the world peace, because he may have. There are actually many of them standing together on one leg. So, but he says that this is nirbuddhitvam, this is misuse. Because this type of peace or happiness or whatever power you can get, it is not substantial. First of all, it is very limited. And secondly, it is not everlasting. It is not going to be eternally. Then it comes to an end. So one has to give up dauratmya. Kidrisha ananya sauhida Vishnu sambandha vyatirikt vastuni sneha bhavavanta. So what one has to do is that one has to have friendship or attachment to objects which are related to Lord Vishnu, and give up everything else. So Vishnu sambandha vyatirikta vastuni, the things which are not related to Lord Vishnu, they have to be abandoned. And abandoning means that one should not be attached to those objects. So our attachment has to be in relationship with Vishnu. Because you cannot give up attachment completely. You have to be attached to something. At least for your survival, for your existence. That is the basic instinct. The survival instinct. So for that one has to have some kutia, some small place lie down. Even if when it becomes common day, he also wanted 3 steps of land. He went to Bali Maharaj, he says, I don't want too much. So Bali said, you have come to me, I am the emperor of the universe. Because Bali Maharaj was ruling the 3 worlds. He has snatched away the kingdom from Indra also. He said, just ask once so that for the rest of your life you don't have to ask anybody. So he said, I am more than Bill Gates. Sometimes Bill Gates is called as the Bali of the Kali. That he is the Bali Maharaj of the Kali Yuga, the Kali Bali. So he said, no, I am not a greedy person. I only need just 3 steps. Because if you measure the land for 3 steps, that is enough for you to lie down. According to your own steps, if you take 3 steps, that is sufficient for you to sleep. So he says, sometimes I sit down somewhere, I do my bhajan and people come and disturb me. So I want to have my own kuti. So at least that much he was asking. So, but he says that you have things which are related to Lord Vishnu. Anything which is not related to him, that there is no need for that. That is the meaning of Ananya Shaurida. Arhasya Pujyasya Sri Vishnoho Padam Charnarvindam Pade Pade Kshane Kshane Hridav Guhya Iname Vasmakam Sarvasvam Iti Alim. And then at every moment, all the time, one thinks of the feet of Lord Vishnu, who is called here as Arha. Arha means worshipable. He is Pujya. He is the person who is worthy of our respect. So we respect many things in this world, but Lord Vishnu is the real object of Vishnu worship. Aradhana nam sarvesham Vishnu Aradhana. All the types of worship, the worship of Vishnu is supreme because he has everything. He is the Sarva Karana Karana. He is the source of everything. So whatever attracts you, whatever impresses you, that is there in Lord Vishnu. Therefore, he is to be respected. He is to be loved. So he says in one's own heart, one should always embrace the feet of Lord Vishnu, which means he should know that it is only Lord Vishnu who is our real wealth, real shelter. And in relationship to that, we also keep things which are useful to serve. Other than that, everything becomes a bondage, and that causes suffering. So for that reason he says, Hridap Guhya Arha Padam Pade Padam. At every step, you have to think of the steps of Lord Vishnu. So that is called step sadhana. In Buddhism, they have a sadhana that they walk, they take steps, and they have to think of the steps. They have to concentrate how they are lifting their foot, and now it is going up. So that is called step sadhana. Shane Shane, at every moment, moment by moment, they think of the step and how the foot is going from one to another. Because in Buddhism, they believe only in now. And they think that nothing else exists except this kshanik, this one moment. The philosophy is called kshanikvad. Kshana means a moment. This is one kshana. So they say that everything is changing at every second. So just don't flow with the change, remain in that moment. And if you can do that, then you have no problem. Then you go into nirvana, whatever that means. But this step sadhana here is that at every step, pada means step, you think of Vishnu pada. At every step you think of the step of Lord Vishnu in your heart, the feet of Lord Vishnu. Because he is the object of respect. अत्र अतद उत्सृजन्तः इति अनुक्ते यदा स्वप्रभोर्ब्रह्मस्वरूपं केवलम् अनुबुभूषन्ति तदा अतत् त्यक्तुमिच्छवो भवन्ति सर्वथा तु भगवत्सेवा उपकरणत्वात् दृश्यं जगत् न त्यजन्ति इति अर्थो लभ्यते. It is a very nice point he makes from this word Utsrishikshava. The word Utsrishikshava means that desiring to give up. So he says that why he did not say that they give up. Instead of saying that they give up what is not real, what is not absolute, he says that they desire to give up. So from this he brings out the point that the devotees, they actually don't want to give up anything. Because everything in this world has some use in the service of the Lord. He says it is seva upkarana. Upkarana means instrumental and seva is service. So everything has some use in the service of the Lord. Therefore if they give up that, then they are harming the service. But he says that if sometimes devotee has a desire to know the Brahman feature of the Lord, then he desires to give up. He doesn't give up because he desires to realize Brahman, then he desires to give up for a short time, but not that he wants to give it up completely. So devotee is very attached. A devotee, his attachment is more than anyone else, because he sees everything as belonging to the Lord. He says all this belongs to my master. So he wants to protect, preserve and use everything in his service. No one thinks like this, that this whole world belongs to me. But a devotee knows this, that this whole world belongs to Vishnu. He is the Prithvipati, he is the Dharapati, he is the Jagatpati, master of the universe. And because I am his servant, so I must take care of it. This is the job of the servant. Now of course, it's very difficult to understand what is the meaning of servant, because there are no servants. Now they are only employees. But in the olden times, servants, they had the natural inclination to serve and preserve the property of master. Now the natural propensity is to plunder it. So a devotee, because he is naturally devoted, that's why he is called devotee, he does not want to give up things which are useful in the service of the Lord. But he says sometimes, yada means sometimes, they may have desire that I want to actually know what is this Brahman. So Swaprabha or Brahma Swarupa, because Brahma is also one feature of the Lord. It is one type of perception. It is not something different from the Lord, but one perception of the Lord. And for this perception, to have this perception, one has to maintain a little distance from the Lord. Because if you are very close to him, then you see his nice, beautiful face, and you just want to please him, you serve him, and you cannot know Brahman. So if you want to know what is Brahman, then you have to go a little away from him. That's why in Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna wanted to see the universal form of Krishna, then Krishna said that you cannot see the universal form with these eyes. Because he says that these eyes are so much full of love for me that with these eyes you will only see my this beautiful form. But if you want to see my universal form, then you have to become little less loving. And less loving means you have to go little away, because if you love somebody, then what is the characteristic of the love? That you want to attain that object of love, you want to be with the object of love, you want to serve, you want to know him. So then if you want to see the feature, universal form, then he says that I have to decrease the level of your love. That is the meaning that he gave him divine eyes. Dadami divyam chakshute. This divya chakshu was not something superior than what he already had. He made his eyes inferior. He reduced his fever of love. When his temperature went down, then he was seeing not Krishna but all these wonderful features. And that is divine. Because Krishna is beyond divine. So if one wants to see the universal feature or one wants to see the Brahman feature of the Lord, then one has to maintain little distance from him. So he says if a devotee sometimes wants to realize Brahman, then he has to give up all these equipments which are meant for service, and he says, no, I don't want this, I don't want this. Neti neti iti atad utsrikshava. So for that reason, the word has been used that they desire to give, which simply signifies that not that they give up, just a desire which comes, then the desire goes away after some time. Like sometimes you get some desire that let me go and eat in the restaurant. And after some time you say it's such a big headache all the time, you have to walk and wait and all this. Then your desire goes away. And then you may think, anyway, we don't know what is in this food, whether it is cooked by devotees or not. It's not good for my spiritual health. It's not a good desire. So like that, then the desire goes away, because desires keep on changing. So like that, sometimes if the desire comes, the desire to give up, then this desire goes away. Then the desire to give up also goes away. They start doing the service. Like people, they do service, their mind changes. They become frustrated, they give up the service for some time. Then the mind cools down. So okay, let's go back to our seva. So same thing happens to them. Their mind gets into some direction, they want to know Brahman. He says, oh, I want to just sit alone in the forest or in my room. What is all this headache? Because service means also a lot of tension, disturbances, dealing with so many difficulties. I'm fed up with this. I just want to do my meditation. So then I say, forget it. Give up all these things. Sometimes people, they give up their objects. And after some time their mood changes and they say, oh my God, I really wanted it back. Because I need it for my service. So that is the meaning. And then what is this Dauratmyam? When he said this impurity of the heart, what exactly is the impurity? So in this particular case, he says Dauratmyam iti Vishnor dehe maikatva buddhimanto duratmana eva deva. Says that duratmas, the impure hearted or wicked people, are those who think that Lord Vishnu has a material body. The followers of Shankaracharya, they say that Brahman is the only reality, and Brahman, of course, they can hardly define it, what it is. And they say that we living beings, we are also Brahman, but we are Brahman in the conditioned state. We have been conditioned by our heart, Antakarana. Antakarana avchinnam chaitanyam jivam. That we are conditioned by ignorance, small ignorance. Small piece of ignorance has limited Brahman, that has become Jiva. And if that ignorance is removed, then that Jiva is Brahman. Like you have a pot in your room, then there is a space inside that pot. So that space inside that pot has become conditioned by the pot. If you break the pot, then space inside and space outside, you cannot even say that it merges into it. It was one to begin with. But because of that conditioning, it looked different. So Jiva is also Brahma. Jiva Brahma eva na pare. Jiva is Brahma and not anything else. So Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Jiva Brahma eva na pare. So they say that if you remove this avidya, then it is Jiva. And what is Ishvara? What is God? It says God is Maya Uphit Chaitanya. That when Maya conditions Brahma, that is called Ishvara. So God is also conditioned by Maya. He is conditioned by big Maya. And the Jiva is conditioned by the small Maya. But his conditioning is good because he has knowledge by that conditioning. They say that this conditioning, Maya is in the goodness, mode of goodness. Therefore he has power, he has knowledge. And Jiva's conditioning is in avidya, in ignorance. But both are feature of Maya. Because knowledge is also Maya, ignorance is also Maya. So Ishwar is conditioned by knowledge feature of Maya, and Jiva is conditioned by the ignorance feature of Maya. Therefore Jiva suffers and God enjoys. But Brahman is beyond both. So those who think like this, they are called Duratma. They are really called rascals. Because that's what the word Duratma means. So he says that if one wants to realize God, or even if one wants to realize Brahman, one has to give up this Duratmam Visrijya. One has to completely abandon such ideas. And another type of Duratma is that one wants to become one with the Lord. That is, they think that they are also Bhagavan. Like in India there are many Bhagavans. There is Kalki Avatar, 2-3 Kalki Avatars now. And many Bhagavan are there. So this is another type of Duratma. That a living being considers himself or herself as an avatar, incarnation. There is one living in Vrindavan also. Now he lives in Barsana. He is also avatar. Right? So like that, there are always some avatar living in India because all avatar come here. They get bored in Vaikuntha. So then they come to India. Have a little fun. Go back. So this is one type of Duratma. There are two types of Duratma. One is to think that Lord, his body is material. And another is to consider oneself as God or one with Bhagavan. So both have to be denounced. Otherwise it is not possible to attain this Param Padam, the supreme position of Lord Vishnu. Because such people don't get visa to go there. They will create disturbance there. Because then God will be in trouble. So there is a joke which I read that when President of America and Pope and Osho, but Osho was also God. Lord Bhagavan. When they died, they all three went to heaven. This means where God is with his son. So the President of America, he went in front of God, and God asked him, so what have you done on earth? What good deeds you do? So he said, well, I did so much for the Christianity. I spread your name and threw away the communism from Russia, and I waged war to remove the heathens. So God said, oh, I'm very pleased with your service. Please go to apartment number 402 and enjoy. Then Pope came and said, yes, Father. So he says, my dear Lord, I traveled to 77 countries in the old days, and wherever I went, I preached your name, I converted so many people to Christianity, and now everybody knows you there on earth. So God said, go to room number 375. Then came Osho in front of God. So God said, what have you done? Osho said, cut out the talk and vacate the seat. He says, now this hypocrisy is over, I have come. Leave my position. So these are all avatars in India. So this is Duratma. This type of Duratma does not lead to the ultimate. One has to give up this. So this is the end of the commentary. Question on this. Now he is going to, from the next one verse onwards, he is going to talk how a yogi gives up body by moving his life here from the chakras. Many times people ask if the chakras are mentioned in Bhagavatam. All this Muladhara chakra and Swadhisthana chakra. So now you will see Bhagavatam also talks of the chakras. And then you can learn to raise your kundalini and become chakrafied.
This desire to experience Brahman that may come up temporarily in a devotee, on what level does that happen? Is it on a certain level or?
Well, actually, if you have understood what is devotion, then there is no question of self-desire. If one is following the path of pure devotion, then there is no such desire. But if people are coming from mixed path, then they may have such Gyan Mishra. They can have such.
What does it mean, this Doratmya of the first point, that one, to consider the body of Vishnu as material? So it means that we see the material objects and we think that they are like worshipable, and so we are attached to them. What does it mean in
Because he is not material, he is transcendental, eternal person. And instead of recognizing that, you are putting him down. And then ultimately thinking that there is no difference between you and him. Because you are also Brahman and he is also Brahman. Only thing is that he has got a better car. He is driving a Rolls Royce and you are going in a Fiat, basically.
Desire is envy, yes? You
If it
think
is
like
not,
this?
if it is not to serve Krishna. Because there are only two desires. Either there is desire to serve or there is desire to enjoy. independent of God. Or you can say there are two ways to enjoy. One is you enjoy independently, and one is you enjoy by giving enjoyment. By doing something.
One time, many years ago, I went to Jaipur to take darshan of Radha Vinod, Loknath Goswami's deities. And at that time, one family were doing the worship. So then in the evening, the family, they all wanted to watch TV. But they put the TV so Thakurji could also see. That they didn't want to enjoy separately, they wanted to
Involve the Thakurji also. Because Thakurji has to move with the times. They don't want his Thakur, their Thakurji remains backward.
But how can it come in the mind of somebody that God can be under his illusion?
How it came in the mind?
Yeah.
By philosophers like Sankaracharya. They have propagated it.
Mm.
Because by oneself it is difficult even to think like this. So that also has been indoctrinated, brainwashing. So Shankaracharya was a master brainwasher. Brainwashed many people and it's still going on.
How do you classify this having the deity watch TV? Because you want to watch TV.
This is called dovetailing. You know this word? Dovetailing? No? You didn't read Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita?
Yes.
Okay. But at least these people have
It's
that
called
much.
dovetailing your desire to devotion.
At least these people have that much
Yeah, it's better than not dovetailing.
sentiment.
Only thing is that some people become fooled by it. They think that they are very great. And they are even watching the TV with Krishna. So that we should be careful. We appreciate their sentiment, but don't think that this is a very high sentiment.
Well, it's kind of funny to have God watch the news, which he made,
Well, he's not God, he's their family member. That is the bhav.
Yeah.
Because for God, if he is God, everything will be very boring. Unless one is very dumb. There is another joke I read. And there were two guys watching TV. And they were watching news. And in the news, there was a guy who was on the top of the building. You know, these days, many times people go on the top of a tower or TV tower and they say, I'm going to jump from there. I'm going to commit suicide, right? It happens all the time, all over the world. Some crazy fellow goes and then the people gathered and the fire brigade. And so he was there and he said he's going to jump from there and he has a condition, whatever. So people were trying to, persuade him or dissuade him not to jump, So these two guys, they were having a bet. One of them said that he's going to jump. And the other said that no, he will not jump. So they said, okay, 100 euros. The guy who said that he will jump, he says, I will pay you 100 euro if he does not jump. He will surely jump. So the other fellow thought, wow, 100 euros, I can give because I know he is not going to jump. So he says, no, he is not going to jump. So they had a bet, and sure, after 2 minutes, the guy jumped. So the other fellow lost the bet. Now he has to give him 100 euros, so he pulled out 100 euros from his pocket and he is giving it to his friend. So his friend said, well, really speaking, I cheated you. He says, how? He says, because this is a repeat news. And I have already seen it. So I knew that he is going to jump, and therefore I betted. So the other fellow said, well, anyway, keep the 100 euro. So he says, why? He says, because I also saw the news before. I also saw the news before, but I didn't think that the guy is so stupid that he will jump again. So unless you are very dumb, you cannot enjoy the TV. So God has to be a little stupid to enjoy the TV. Because everything is a repeat for him. But he thinks it's not going to happen the same way. And the jokes are very funny. Alright. This is a nice place for class.
Now we find it out.